Hi, friends. Today we are going to be talking about personal growth. And I know that you've probably heard this term sporadically as you came into Plexus, and everybody's talking about it. And sometimes you're probably wondering, hi, what's personal growth? You know? And so today I hope to share some stories and share some insight that potentially is going to open your eyes to the massive impact of personal growth and development and how it applies to Plexus and why it's such a huge lifeline. And so I've been reflecting on this for quite some time, and how it just impacts our lives in general. And we often hear personal growth in the context of business and professional development. But I'm curious, do you see value in personal growth in your daily lives? Do you think it really affects you? And so, how does personal growth affect you in areas like relationships, health, sports, spirituality? Does it make a difference in your life? Or do you believe that it's mainly for business success? So, today I'm going to share how I grew in some areas of personal development, how I came to it, and how it's been the absolute fuel to growing and developing a huge business to be very successful. So let me start of where it really impacted me as I came into Plexus and I started understanding visually. I'm a visual learner. I'm always going to tell you that I learn by seeing people moving in picture form. It's so effective. And so I came I came to Plexus and my diamond uplines were doing book studies, and I was encouraged to show up because there was a lot to learn that would help my business. Okay, I was willing to learn. I was going to take it all in. What do I need to learn? How can I do this? Okay. And so I showed up to John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And the book was so over my head. There was so many concepts that I had never applied or had to apply in my life. But I can tell you this, you never learn something on the first attempt. I have read that book over and over, and it's still a book that I regularly pick up and I go through the 21 laws because they are so applicable to most every situation that you will encounter in life. Now, think about this. Before I came to personal growth, I often would encounter situations with potentially like drama or high emotions or anger or things like that. And I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know, like, we just kind of react to life that's happening. I didn't know how to respond effectively in order to understand what was truly going on. I'm going to talk about one law in that book today, and that is the law of the lid. And it's because it applies most in our context to personal growth. And so picture this, a large pot with a lid on top. Okay, it's just a pot. It's just a pot. You can now decide what goes into the pot, but the lid goes on. Okay, and so this is John Maxwell's version of the law of the lid. There's only a certain amount of context that can go into the pot until the pot is full and then nothing else can get in. See where I'm going? If you are building people and building a team, you always want to keep lifting the lid to make room for more. To me, this was such a simple concept. It's like, oh, that makes sense. Let's make our pot bigger. In order to make your pot bigger, you have to keep growing because you are the pot. I know, not my brilliance, his. Let me read this to you in a quick context, and then I'm going to go into a small story about my experience. And I hope that just shines light on your journey of where you feel and see areas of growth that you need to be doing. Sometimes this will show up as, I'm stuck. No, you're not. You just don't have clarity of what you need to do next. We're never, ever stuck. There's always something more to do. Or I'm just burnt out or exhausted. You're not focusing on the right things. You're running on the treadmill and not getting the action producing activities into momentum. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's read the law of the lid. I often open my leadership conferences by explaining the law of the lid because it helps people understand the value of leadership. If you can get a handle on this law, you will see the incredible impact of leadership on every aspect of life. So here it is. Leadership ability is the lid that determines a person's level of effectiveness. Let me repeat that. Leadership ability is the lid, that's the lid on your pot, that determines a person's level of effectiveness. You are only as effective as where that lid ends. You have a teeny little pot and there's a lid on that, you can only be as effective up to what you can fit into that pot. If you have a huge pot, you've got a lot of room to be effective, okay? To the lower an individual's ability is to lead, the lower the lid is on his potential. The higher the individual's ability is to lead, the higher the lid is on his potential. To give you an example, if your leadership rates at an 8, scale 1 to 10, then your effectiveness can never be greater than a 7, okay? Because the lid would be the 8. If your leadership is only a 4, then your effectiveness will be no higher than a 3. Your leadership ability, for better or for worse, always determines your effectiveness and the potential impact of your organization, not just you. Now, picture this. That lid is put on your whole team of where you sit with your leadership ability. Yes, that's how important personal growth and development is. And that's why it becomes a massive lifeline for your team if the leader keeps growing, okay? And so if I lift my lid, others under it get to grow. If I don't, I'm keeping them in a place of where they're not growing. We will only attract people that fit under our level of growth, okay? And so when we're talking about attracting rock stars or attracting business builders, you will only be attracting to what you yourself have already grown. And so in order for you to attract people that really want to run with you, you also want to be growing. Okay, so here's my story. I'm just going to quickly go through it a little bit. I made some notes. I'm going to refer to it because I don't want to miss some points. And I feel like it has been such a journey. Now, don't think that personal growth can come overnight. It's not something you read in a book. This is something that you experience and you intentionally decide on doing, because it's a way that you are going to be responding to each and every situation in your life that grows you. So personal growth does not just apply to Plexus, it applies to your life in general. And so for me, that changed everything. Everything in my life that changed. So here it is. Happy people don't just go around intentionally making other people miserable. Did you know that? They just don't. They don't tear down or pick fights or create drama where there is none to be made. They don't wish bad on others or belittle. That's right. Reflects on who they are, right? I used to love a good clapback, a little bit of revenge, right? And I used to think it was my job to win with people who had been rude. Last comment, snarky return, something like that, right? I used to respond with negative comments and I used to try to change people's mind. And one day I thought, what the heck am I doing? I'm doing exactly what they want. This isn't revenge. This is me continuing the cycle over and over and over. If you look at certain situations in your life and they are just not going away and it just becomes this cycle, I stopped and looked at myself and I knew it's me. It's me. An argument does not continue if just one person remains. And so I don't try to get back at people anymore. It is such a waste of time, energy, my thoughts, and honestly, it's just not the right thing to do. I am now here to aim higher. And I decided this just over 10 years ago of where in a certain situation it was going to make a difference. And I tell you that it has made a difference day and night. Just incredible. When you choose not to participate in those situations anymore, you yourself grow that relationship will grow and change. And so I decided that at that point in time, I decided that, and I thought this is going to apply to everything in my life. I'm not just going to do that here. I'm going to do that in building my business. I had just barely started, and I'm going to do that in my relationships. And it was one choice at a time. In the beginning, it's very hard to change how you have always responded and how you have always been, but it's not impossible. It's very doable. So I chose grace and I chose gratitude, and I'm choosing to bring joy to the table. I'm going to reach for hope. I'm going to run with my arms wide open towards faith. I'm going to guard my heart. Boundaries are very important, very, very important. And I'm going to protect my peace. Those boundaries protect your peace. You have to choose them. Remember when Shelley said no is a complete sentence? Exactly that. I'm going to dream and I'm going to do good and I'm going to be kind and I'm going to encourage, I'm going to lift up, and I can't do that if I stoop to their level. That's as simple as it is. I am going to do what God has asked me to do, and I'm going to keep my thoughts on good, on heaven above. Of that is exactly where they belong. And I hope that today, as we're talking about personal growth, that you will follow suit. And so many of those things that happen in our lives, that you're just going to let it go. Let it go. There is absolutely no happiness to be found in anger and bitterness and division and hate, participating in gossip, taking screenshots of chats, posting them in other chats, blah, 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 blah. Did you see this? Did you see that? There's no life in that. There is no life in that. The thing that you can do best is look at yourself and grow yourself. And that in itself, and maybe they don't deserve goodness, right? Like, but you do. And goodness is found in forgiveness. Life is short. It is so easy to waste on dwelling on nonsense. And if we spread light, which we say this is what we do in Plexus, is we lift each other up. And if other people don't like it, that we're shining so brightly, toss them some sunglasses and just keep on shining. You have work to do, so you cannot be distracted by that. And I can tell you very honestly that distraction comes in the form of resentment, comparison, jealousy, gossip. All those things show up in procrastination because that's where your mindset is reflecting of where you are. And if you choose personal growth, to choose to grow yourself daily, you are making these choices for you. And guess what? The best way to get back at people is to want the best for them no matter what. No matter what. And so pray for them. They must be going through something. You know, usually when people talk about other people, it reveals more about themselves than what it does about you. Very much have come to learn that is a huge truth. And they must be going through something. So you can either extend the arguing and continue to feed the fire, or you can extend mercy, but you cannot do both. You cannot do both. And so don't jump in the ring with them. Don't play the game. Don't do that to your own heart, because you're trying to find peace. You're trying to establish boundaries. And when you feel yourself in the beginning, you have to choose this, because this is creating a habit. This is creating a new you. This is creating someone that you have not been before. And so when people said to me, "You've changed," I said, "Thank you. I really worked on that. I really wanted to change." And so break the cycle, go in a new direction. This is how you get ahead. You live above the fray. You live above the cray-cray. Like all the things that you hear around you, it's just noise. You have blinders on, you're focusing on growing yourself, that pot can lift its lid and more people can fall into your pot and follow example of what you are doing, because you set the tone, because you hold the lid. You live well and you do it well, with all the crazy ideas of love and compassion, of empathy, of showing up well. You know, it's really easy to make $1, but it's much harder to make a difference. We're here to make a difference. And alongside of that, you will be making $1. And so personal growth is a silent investment. It does not speak up, it shows up. Truly, I have seen people have breakthroughs on this, and they went from one thing to completely someone differently in a few months' time, and their team and their business started exploding because of a choice that they made for themselves. Personal growth is a silent investment. It does not speak up, it shows up. And so each and every day that you actively learn and grow is an investment for your future business, future organization, and future self. You owe this to yourself. No one is going to recognize you for doing this. Unfortunately, this is not a shout out post. Oh, yay, so and so did so good in her personal growth. Look at her show up. That's not going to happen, friends. You have to be very intentional on choosing this for yourself. No one is going to recognize you for that. There are no ranks or bonuses associated with personal development. However, it will be evident in who you will become and what you do. And so the strongest leaders are self-aware, willing to grow themselves in order to grow others. That is my take on personal growth. I really hope that you have taken something away from this. And if you feel like I didn't give you instructions how, it's because each person's life is a unique situation. And I believe in our heart of hearts, we do know exactly of where we get to show up, and we get to show up better. And so if you want help with that, you want a personal one-on-one coaching call with your upline on something like that, there's excellent books to read. There's excellent podcasts on these topics. This is you making a decision for yourself. And I hope that my story inspired you. If you ever want to read John Maxwell's 21 Laws, it's a really good book to pick up and look through for some leadership. Because remember, the level of your leader is the level of your effectiveness. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for being here. Take care.